We are live. Hello.
Good afternoon. Sorry for lateness, but I guess we're going to stick with 12 noon to 1.
Yeah, I think it is a more reasonable amount of time per week for this.
And your participation in calling or talking or sending questions is important. Delaney and I are in the process of reaching out to radio stations to let us air this program on Sunday morning kind of public service airtime. So if you have a question or a comment or a call, make it, and we'd love to talk to you.
Yes. You can call 220-222 HOTM from now till 1 p.m. Mountain Time. And yeah, otherwise I think we can start reading some comments. Would you like to, or do you want to play music first?
Let's do some comments.
Okay. So this past week on the Heart of the Matter channel, it starts back with the previous 2 weeks ago's Mercy, Your Heart of the Matter Mercy episode. We have one comment. They say, I'd also draw your attention to the reception and human atmosphere of trials and active shooters. A young murder of 17 high school students couldn't get a death penalty because of some specific laws of the state, but he had to face the last words or statements of the grieving family members in court. They had to wait a couple years for this moment, and every one of them, while as being a witness, solemnly swearing to tell the truth formula, competed with each other, how to call the perpetrator names and how to vocally wish him the most heinous, dehumanizing torment, self-hatred, misery, desolation, nightmares, fear of the karma, excruciating pains, cruel, etc. Hellfire hereafter. Profoundly graphic content for the soul. However, I doubt it would be qualified as R-rated one according to the LDS doctrine of Calvinism. Only shining exception was the girlfriend of one of the victims, still almost a minor. She saved the day for real believers. Beforehand, the convict showed absolutely no emotions. Now big size gaps, rapid heart beating was noticeable. Search for the video. Best friend of Joaquin Oliver speaks to Parkland shooter. Sorry, that was quite a long comment, but...
Yeah, I understand the emotional response to a shooter going in and having someone you love or even those you don't know being killed, little children and all that. It's absolutely horrible. There's a normal response is anger, but the bottom line is, what if it was your teenage son or daughter who went in and shot up the school? And it's really, really hard to do that, but it's important because that's what brings forth the mercy. And that the child or the person who shoots up a school of innocent little children is suffering and is really in a place of darkness. Does it make it easier to accept? No, but I think that brings more reason to the picture, and I think that's the view the Christians are mandated to try to embrace. Mercy for those who least deserve it. And it's easy to talk about it. And if someone went in and shot up the school of one of my children or grandchildren, I might be right with some of you who would think revenge and hate and anger. But try to get your mind thinking about what would I really do in that situation, and then how would I go about facing it.
I feel like you think, though, there's a place to talk about. Would you say that speaking mercifully to someone would mean not telling them the truth sometimes? Or like avoiding, in that situation in the courtroom?
I think that the truth, who was it? Emerson, peace if possible, but truth always. I think the truth can be spoken, and that is a form of mercy. And so to say to the perpetrator, this has broken our family up. We have been destroyed by these actions, and we want you to know that that there are repercussions to people's lives from doing something like this. And the pain you've inflicted is egregious. We hope you spend the rest of your life trying to figure out why you did that and how you can make amends to society. In the interim, we forgive you. But we really hope that you'll look inwardly and try to use this for good now. Something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, or the abortion topic.
Same thing.
Like, yeah, I think society's so far gone that if you're saying on a show, we need to show mercy to people, they think that you're saying we need to vote for them to have the right to do this thing, or even that you're saying to not say the truth to them. Like, I think you could say, I don't think what you did was a good thing, but like, I'm here for you. You're probably hurting in that experience still. Yeah.
I mean, I think there's another quote that says, truth without love is brutality. And love without truth is irresponsibility.
Yeah.
So they do go hand in hand. And so I would never say to a woman, oh, you're okay aborting a baby. I mean, it's just no. But I would try to include her feelings and what she's going through to help bring about a solution and to deliver those truths in a loving way.
For sure. That's the whole thing you're trying to say.
Yeah, whole thing.
God, people really missed the point on that one.
We miss the point these days, don't we?
Yeah. Let me get to more comments from that video. Grady pointed out that he thinks much of it has to do with a lack of humility or our arrogance. We forget Yahweh is the ultimate example of humility. Yeshua gave his life for those who hated him. How arrogant of us to hold others' sins against them if Yahweh himself doesn't do that.
Yeah. I think Grady's taken some heat for saying that God is humble, and he's made that remark online to people, and some people have become unhinged by that. But
to say God is humble?
Yeah, God is humble.
They have a problem with that?
Yes.
Why?
Oh, well, God, he doesn't need to be humble. He's God. No. What? If you think about it, all you got to do is say, well, then is he proud?
Yeah.
And then what allows this God to patiently, long-sufferingly deal with us if it isn't humility?
Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah.
Isn't that like the definition of Jesus is humility?
Absolutely.
Oh, you're getting a call here.
All right.
We'll send it over. 1 second, guys. All right, it should be on that computer.
It's on that computer.
Yeah, they should hear you.
Hey, is this Grady?
Hold on. How's it going, brother?
Hold on 1 second, Brother Grady. I'm glad you called in. We were just talking about you.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we were talking about you saying to me last week or so that how the kickback about saying God is humble.
Oh yeah, boy, isn't that amazing how that offends people saying God is humble, and everybody wants to look at mercy and say, oh well, okay, he's merciful, but no, I don't go with humble, and you can't have one without the other, really.
Yeah. Yeah, so what's on your mind?
I'm sorry, I've got a delay, so, I'm in Mexico standing by the road, hopefully got enough signal, so I'm sorry about stepping on you.
Oh, no, what's happening?
No, not a whole lot. I wanted to call and talk about, how I just don't understand. I just don't get it. I don't really understand why saying that God is humble and pointing that out is so offensive to so many people. It just doesn't jive with me. I don't understand. If he was not humble, he wouldn't have put up with any of our crap. He would just say, okay, I'm done, bloom, blink, here, gone.
Yeah, I wonder if the problem is in their minds. They think humility means there's something bigger than you, something that you need to submit to if humility is to exist. And because he doesn't submit to anybody, how could he possibly be humble?
Yeah, I guess that might be the hang up in the mind, but I mean, really, humility is just it's part of fundamental to agape love. You think of someone else's needs. You place them, as Philippians 2 says, place them higher than yourself. I mean, that is exactly. This is probably going to be offensive, but do you realize that God did not demand or hold us up and demand that we be and meet his absolute perfection? Because we couldn't do it. He had to do it for us, and he humbled himself to that. And I mean, that's just the ultimate show of love and compassion and mercy that I think is the paramount example for all of us to see and follow.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that so? At the incarnation, do you think there's anything? You guys are kind of stepping into the way Grady and I talk to each other, but do you think that there's anything to the idea that prior to the incarnation, where God had never been flesh before, that perhaps he was a little bit, I don't know how to put it, a little bit less understanding? Or do you think that's just semantics?
I don't know. I think that's how we might appear and we might see it. I really can't speak to that. What I can speak to, I think there's something there, yes. But as far as quantifying and being able to put my...
Grady, we lost you. And what a place, he's still there, but can't hear him. What a place to end where he said, where I can put my, and then it went blank.
Sick.
I don't know what he's doing. Grady, we lost you. We lost contact. I don't know if you can hear me, but we can't hear you. So call back or we'll talk again. By the way, I'm just going to hang that up. By the way, this Friday and Saturday, you can have a chance to hear Grady present a paper on what's love got to do with it at the Christian Peace Initiative. Friday night, we have the keynote launch with Dr. Larry Norris. And then on Saturday, we're going to have, I can't remember how many speakers, beginning at about 8 o'clock. So if you're in Utah area, come join us live. Let us know you're going to be here so we know the right amount of refreshments. But definitely tune in as we stream it out. Any thoughts on that? Delaney's going to be presenting a paper I'm really excited to hear on.
Yeah. It's going to be a really wide array of people that are speaking, and I think it's going to be really effective.
I do too.
For it.
Pray for us that it does some good in this world of restlessness and non-peace.
Yeah. If you are in the Utah area as well, you're welcome to show up live. The information is at thegreatnewsnetwork.com under events.
Yeah. And while we're waiting for another call, or Delaney's looking at more questions, get our app, The Great News Network, at thegreatnewsnetwork.com. Download it to your phone, either an Apple or an Android, and it will bring all of our content to you free of charge. And we hope that you'll consider that and sharing the app with others.
Yes. And I'll say more on that, but Grady's back. So he's coming over to talk to you.
Grady, will you please fix the Mexico's technological systems?
Oh man, it drives me absolute crazy down here. It's just drop calls everywhere. It's nuts.
Yeah. Well, so you cut off when you said.
That's one of the issues I have doing live shows is, I sometimes I have internet, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I have 2 megabytes a second. Sometimes I have, Now with this new Starlink, sometimes I have 70. But if we lose electric, well, that doesn't do any good anyway. So, yeah, it's a different. It takes some getting used to.
Tell us your heart about this upcoming speech we're gonna air on Saturday at the Christian Peace Initiative conference.
Oh well, I'm really looking forward to the whole idea of the Christian Peace Initiative. I think it's something that is greatly needed. I can't wait to, I have my view on it. I have my understanding, and I'm going to go ahead and present that. I hope it resonates. I hope people can see it. It all is focused on love. The title, which I just titled it, what's love got to do with it? And I think that's pretty much everything, and I go into detail on that. So I'm hoping that'll resonate. But I'm really looking forward to hearing some of the views of some of the other speakers that we have.
Yeah, I am too. And I really want to emphasize to people who are listening or will listen, that's our heart. Our heart is not to get you to believe how we believe or walk how we walk and see life. You are responsible before your maker, and we want you to take full advantage of that and speak your mind, say what you believe, but let's just get along in love.
Absolutely. Bask in the freedom that is. And, we come together, and that's one of the biggest things I see in mercy and humility. It isn't coming and agreeing. It's coming together in spite of differences and different understandings, realizing that, do you realize that Yeshua died when absolutely no one on the face of the earth had any correct doctrine, knowledge, understanding, or reasoning?
Isn't that amazing?
I mean, that is what it is. He gave that ultimate example of love when nobody got it.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't we do the same with each other?
Right with you, my brother. Anything else to discuss that's on your mind, my friend?
No, right now I don't know, man. I'm I've been working all this morning on some stuff, and I was just getting ready to lay me down for a nap. You'd be a little rest in the afternoon, but no, I just think I'm really looking forward to this conference. I'm really thinking I really think that if it will be heeded, if it'll be listened to, and they'll really let it go to heart and seek the truth, seek Yahweh in spirit and truth, and listen to what is said, I think we will really understand that it is about love. It's about mercy. It's about humility. It's about considering others with all of their incorrect doctrine, incorrect thinking, at least in our point of view, as just as loved of Yahweh as we are. And I think that's kind of where it centers around is we need to not necessarily love, and this will get me in trouble by some people I know, and that's okay. But, I don't see the way in which we're supposed to love each other as loving your neighbor as yourself. To me, that's kind of human-centered, and that was law. That was the point of law. The point we have now is love as Yeshua loved us. Amen. And that is all Yahweh-based. What does Yahweh think of that person? And he loved them so much that he holds nothing against them, and he died for them. So that's kind of how I look at it. But hey, that's often one of them hand-me-holds I'm fond of.
Well, I love it, and I'm right with you, my brother. I can't wait to hear your comments on Saturday. And you take care. Go take your little nappy nap or whatever the hell you called it.
They call them siestas.
Oh, wow. We got to embrace that, Delaney. We need to incorporate siestas into our lives.
Yep. That's it.
All right,
if I can make one more comment before I go. I think Delaney was touching on this. I don't have the internet out here and the phone, so I didn't listen to all of it, but I think Delaney was hitting on it. It's not that mercy is not looking and embracing and saying something is good and acceptable or right and wonderful. It's looking and saying, I don't care. I know how God sees that person. And in spite of what was done, in spite of what they've done to you, their character, even whoever they are, realize the way in which that changes is by showing love and compassion and understanding. Even it isn't embracing the wrong that's been done. It's loving in spite of it, like Jehovah did to every single and for every single one of us.
Right. Exactly. Well put, too. Like he did it. He never embraced any of the sin, but he certainly was loving toward those who had it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, brother, listen, I love you with all my heart. Can't wait for this weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. Love you, sis.
Love you too, brother. See you later. So that was Grady down in Sonora, Mexico. If you have a comment or a question, we'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, maybe Delaney has another comment, or are we going to have some music?
I have a few more comments.
Okay.
Feel free to chat in the YouTube chat, some questions if you have them. Also, Discord, thegreatnewsnetwork.com. At the top, you'll see resources, and it has a link to our Discord channel. Okay. To continue the theme of talking about 2 weeks ago's Mercy episode on Heart of the Matter, Enoch 840 said he discovered you, he or she discovered you a few months ago, only watched a few of your YouTube videos, but this is by far his favorite. Keep up the heartfelt love for God. And then on the call-in show last week, he said, what about John chapter 6, known as the bread of life discourse taught by Jesus? How do you interpret John 20, verse 23?
I got to look that up. John chapter 6, verse 23?
John chapter 20, verse 23. Even though he's referring to John chapter 6.
Verse 23. Okay, and that says, whosoever sins you remit, they are remitted unto them, and whosoever sins you retain, they are retained. Well, the context shows that Jesus says that to who? He doesn't say it to the woman at the well, and he doesn't say it to the leper. He says it to his 12 appointed apostles. Why does he tell them that? Because they had the power on earth after he left to gather that bride and prepare her for his return to take her. And he's telling them, if you have remitted sins, they're remitted. And if you have people sins retained, they are attached to them. You have that power by the Holy Spirit, which is going to come. And that is how it's going to be until I return and take my bride. Then the apostles disappeared. We don't have them anymore. They died off. And now we have the Holy Spirit that is keeping all of that in check in each individual. And there's no more remitting and remembering and retaining sin because it's been paid for in full.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that.
You're very welcome.
A few questions quickly. Charlie asked, which app do you use to purchase the books? Any books that we have live are at thegreatnewsnetwork.com. And it doesn't have to be purchased through an app, but you can purchase it through the app.
And sometimes I go into modes where I start cleaning out the laptop closet, and I'm uncovering a whole bunch of stuff that we have yet to even put in a PDF for you. And so we've got at least 10 to 20 more book PDFs that you can download. Most of them are going to be for free. If we charge for any, it'll be nominal. And again, all available at thegreatnewsnetwork.com.
Yes. So, Todd wanted to say on our last week's call-in about support, where we kind of go off on support, which the sound was so bad, but he said, I think you should make money from your amazing ministry to support your family and yourself comfortably and not feel bad about it. The kind of critics that complain against you can never be satisfied about your circumstances, even if you were homeless.
Well, I think you make a great point in terms of critics, because there is no satisfying them. You know, I could sell my blood to make the ministry work, and they're not going to be happy. they'd say he's trying to be Christ and shed his own blood. I mean, they literally take anything and interpret it in a negative view. But I appreciate that thumbs up. I am really, really reticent to put a burden on anybody financially, and that's why I'll repeat right now, and this has been the mantra. If you're struggling and you're raising a young family, you keep your money. If you're on a limited fixed income, keep your money. If you're on a fixed budget and there's little room, forget the word tithe, forget the word donate to us. God wants you to. None of that is applicable from our mind. All I want to say is if you have an abundance, consider supporting us with a portion, some small portion of your abundance. We want the wealthy and the well-off and the people who are blessed financially to be the ones who step to the plate in that way, while the people who aren't blessed that way can give in other ways, like saying prayers on our behalf and asking the living God to step in and help us. Those are actually more valuable in my mind than a check. And I really mean it, because I think that when we have God on our side, we might not be in abundance, but we're always taken care of.
Okay. There's one more comment to address from our Galatians chapter 1, I Don't Get the Bible.
Oh, good.
And they said, can you imagine if tradition was to call Jesus the Father? The Romans would claim to have killed our God. Instead, all they can claim is that they killed the Son of our God.
Wow, that's a fantastic insight. Wow, that's pretty cool. So that gives that lends support as to why he was even called the Son and not God himself, not the Father when he walked on earth. Because man, I mean, I don't know if God works that way, but that's a great insight. Whoever said that, thank you.
Yeah, that was Myra Manwaring.
Thank you, Myra Manwaring. Sounds British.
I'm not sure if I pronounced any of this right, but okay. There's lots of other comments of people just giving support, which is really nice, but they aren't questions. So we can go to some music now.
All right. See you in a minute.
All right.
There will your heart be also, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. Lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. Lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
We are back on with one more call from Grady. Coming to you right now, Shawnee.
Mr. Grady.
Hey, I wanted to call and tell you where my finger was.
Oh my goodness.
When I lost connected the first time, it was I put my finger on it, and I didn't come back to what we've been talking about. So I wanted to mention it real quick, so I didn't leave that hanging.
Oh, what is it?
Well, it was, we were talking about whether God changed and somehow from the Old Testament to the New. And I think, there is something there. And as far as I can't put my exact finger on it, we do know that in Hebrews, it says specifically that we don't have a high priest that isn't understood, who can't be approached. No, he's been us. He suffered every temptation. He's gone through that. And so I think that does show a fundamental difference in an understanding that came. Now, I know that can be argued against, and many wouldn't like that, but that is something I see in Hebrews. So that's where my finger was. I just didn't want to leave it hanging.
I'm glad you didn't, and I do love that that insight, because I didn't even think of it. But that's why the writer makes it plain. He's not without understanding of us.
Yep, and we approach him and seek mercy and grace and love right then and there, straight through, with a God that has been human. It's amazing. It's just it just blows your mind. And yet he's not humble.
Yeah.
And that's where, so anyways, I just wanted to drop that by there. I went inside and started listening to it because I hadn't listened before, and I heard that drop, and I'm like, I better call that up and make sure I got that at least squared away as to how I saw it. So.
Glad you did, my brother. Thanks so much.
All right, I love you. Catch you later.
Bye-bye.
There is one little chat comment here. Hobo Cop, our friend Hobo Cop, says, I still remember years ago you had a debate with Jason Wallace, and it exposed Calvinism for what it truly is, when there's one guy in Q&A who's like, who here loves me? And he didn't raise his hand. Wallace tries explaining, well, I don't know you, and I think one of your daughters went off on him. That was wild. That's the comment.
Yeah, who was that daughter, Cassidy, or you?
It was not me. I wasn't there.
Oh, yeah. The story was there's a pastor here in town, and he sincerely believes that he was called by God to come here and save the Mormons years ago. And he moved here with his family and started a church. And then he started watching me on television, and he grew a deep-rooted, like Javert hatred for me. And so he's been after me forever, and we had him show up over here, and he was on a program, and Jed actually got on the stage and asked him if he loved him.
Oh, it was Jed.
Yeah, Jed got up and asked, do you love me?
Really sad.
And Pastor Jason Wallace's response of a Orthodox Presbyterian, full-blown 5-point Calvinist, said, I don't know you. And that created a ripple and uproar among people who were watching. So that's the reference, Hobo Cop. And it was a monumental time because I think my daughter, Cassidy, she went ballistic off that idea.
I thought it was Mom.
No, it wasn't Mom. It was Cassidy.
Mom had something at the Inquisition.
Yeah, Mom was at the back of the room of the Inquisition when this room was the fullest it's ever been. And a guy came in drunk from the parking lot screaming obscenities about me. And Mom went toward him, and they got like in a tussle.
Oh, my gosh.
And that's when Jason Wallace was laughing.
Wow.
And that's why no one knows this, but I looked over at him on camera and said, you're lucky I'm a Christian, because I wasn't. I come over there and punch you in the face.
For real.
But people didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
And all they heard was me say that.
Yeah.
So it's just the way it goes.
I see. Yeah, I don't know what the big...
Yeah.
He said, wow, the context makes it even more crazy. The commenter just said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the irony about all of these things, with Pastor Wallace and what's my friend who does that radio show here? I can't think of him. And Dr. James White And all of them, if you watch and you just listen to our quote unquote discussions or debates, you'll hear a reasoning I'm trying to bring to the table that they just discount, and it's just like thrown away. I don't win debates by doing that, but I certainly do try to cause people to think, and that's the objective.
Yeah. The idea that they'd say, I don't know you, to that question.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to understand why he would say that. So their concept of love is tied to being deserving of it.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's why they will say things like, God doesn't love anybody he doesn't know.
I see.
Yeah, and that's why God only elects the ones he elects, and he sends the rest to hell because he doesn't know them. He's not even has no concept of anybody that is not his.
So in theory, it is the same in a way where, like, we say God knows everyone and loves everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, God loves everyone and knows them, and they're saying there are just people he doesn't know, and so he doesn't love them.
Yeah.
But
And that's why Jason, I think, said, I don't know you, because he's standing off that theological idea. How can I love you if I don't know you?
yeah,
But it shows that the love is conditional
yeah,
on behalf of Calvinists.
as is every single other thing. What Jesus did, everything's conditional
Everything.
on being known or not.
Yeah.
That you have no choice in.
Yeah. Which is, and this is a low blow, and I say it kindly, but that's why strong 5-point Calvinists often, not always, but often raise such miserable children.
Yeah, like they probably don't have any feeling of unconditional love from their own parent.
All conditional.
If they think that God, of all things, God is that conditional, then why be a parent that shows unconditional love to your kid? Yeah, that's pretty gnarly.
Isn't that wild?
That's rough. Okay, well, that's all for the comments. Call in. We have about 20 minutes left.
Come on, you guys, take a minute. Share something with us so we can keep the conversations going.
Yeah, we'd love to talk to you, whether you hate us or love us. Okay. Oh, wait. We have one more. Sorry, every time I go to stop it, we have another. Daddy, you want this?
Yeah.
Are you there? Coach Mark is saying, is it because of the passage when Jesus says, depart from me, I never knew you?
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
And what's your response to that?
My response to that is, in that day and age, that may have been true when it came to Jesus and his bride, that he could say that to those who said, Lord, Lord, did we not do many wonderful works in your name? And he says, I don't know who you are. Depart from me. Yes, because the bride were those who came to him by faith. But in the age of fulfillment, absolutely God knows all. And Christ has returned all of us into relationship with that God. That's what Christ did. So Jesus or Yeshua could say something like that to those Jews then. But today, no.
Does he say that to Jews?
Yeah.
Depart from me? It's
Jesus
to Jews.
Yeshua came and he's speaking to Jews.
Okay. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about Adam, the whole story of the Old Testament and the New Testament being so direct, like regional, small, and like the direct line of Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
That's who Jesus came from, saved, and then like opened it up to the rest of us. So there were people that existed that weren't from that line.
Well, not Adam and Eve. Everybody ostensibly came from Adam and Eve, but from Abraham. Yeah. You meant Abraham.
Oh, Abraham.
Yeah.
Wait. There were people that didn't come from Abraham.
Yes.
Is what I meant. Yeah. Everyone came. Sorry.
Yeah.
But so would those, like, in that time before Jesus returns and saves it, are there people that God didn't know?
I think he knew them, yes. I still think he was
Even the people that
all-knowing
weren't
of them.
of Abraham.
What? Yeah,
The
absolutely.
okay.
But it was only through Abraham that he was concerned to try to work through to get those other ones
Okay.
redeemed to him.
Okay. But that's never like explicitly said. That's like a perspective of yours, or
No, the scripture talks about other nations and things, but because God describes the nation of Israel as his, different from all other nations, we know he's aware of the other nations.
I see. Okay. We have a couple more questions. Did you already explain the rest of your list regarding abortion, rape, incest, etc.? I've been trying to understand the compassion you're talking about in regards to those topics.
I'm talking about compassion and mercy on everybody involved in every aspect. So it's not just compassion and mercy on the victims. They are certainly victims. They are not the cause of what happened to them. We absolutely have compassion and mercy on them. But we are also merciful in the auspices of truth. So we don't say, well, what you did, raper, is not a crime. But we absolutely have mercy on those people in the light of truth. So we don't hate them and not forgive them and have patience with them because they committed a crime. We admit to the crime they created. We explain the pain they caused, but we still choose to have mercy on them and love them. That mercy does not mean they don't serve a prison sentence. The mercy means that while in prison, they aren't beaten and put in chains. We're just talking about different levels of compassion depending on who's involved.
Yeah. And we said earlier in this session, this call-in hour too, that it's not a matter of not telling them the truth about the hurt they've caused,
Not
or
at
whatever.
all.
Like, it's not avoiding truth. It's just in the face of truth,
Yeah.
extending some understanding that they might be in some kind of pain as well.
And Delaney, remember we were driving down the freeway together a few weeks ago, and we saw a bumper sticker on the back of a window of a truck, and it said something like,
I don't remember.
let me kill the pedophiles.
Oh yeah, kill all pedophiles.
Kill all pedophiles. And
That's insane.
And that is, I mean, I am not for pedophilia. And I know that it is a heinous crime against humanity. And I think it should be obliterated from the human condition if possible. But I have a heart for a person who's a pedophile for the simple reason they are demented.
yeah.
And they are absolutely need some kind of help. And the help is not to hang them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a astounding statement to make.
Yeah. And that's kind of where, and I'm sorry, that's kind of where American evangelicalism has collectively become.
Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah.
It's so, yeah, it really is.
It's so far afield of what the biblical Christ taught. It's more
Yeah.
the Old Testament God.
Yeah, I think what you just said is what the feeling of what everyone's going to be talking about at the conference too. So, right?
I would think.
Like, I think the fact that Christianity is at a state where it's the furthest from compassion than it's ever been right now is sort of,
I mean, isn't that ironic?
yeah, it's pretty insane.
Wow.
Someone is asking, hello, Shawn, why does the LDS Church have a statue of Moroni on top of every church and no crosses inside everywhere or anywhere, a big red flag?
The LDS Church is, first of all, Moroni the angel in their Book of Mormon is the angel in Revelation that's flying through the midst of heaven, blowing his trumpet and bringing new stuff to the world. And so him on the temple he's ushering in with a trumpet the second coming of Christ to come back. And it's through this restored gospel of Joseph Smith that's going to help usher Christ back in. You'll notice that all of those Moronis are facing east, where the Christ is supposed to come back from, like the sun rises in the east. That's the symbolism of Moroni. The other thing was, what was it about?
There's no crosses.
There used to be crosses within the Mormon world. They'll sing upon the cross of Calvary. They'll have pictures of Christ on the cross, and they understand what the cross was. But what their reasoning is if someone murdered your child with a special kind of axe, why would you put that axe up on your wall and worship it? And they don't see the cross as an emblem of God's love and mercy. They see it as a torture device. And they see his real pain and suffering in the garden when he sweat, as it were, great drops of blood, according to one gospel writer, Luke. So they turn from the cross and they say, we don't look to that. We look to the empty tomb, where Christ rose out of the grave and now has had victory, and we don't look back on that emblem. So that's the history behind it.
That is wild. I didn't know that about the cross.
Yeah.
A couple more comments. That Calvinist circle works hard in trying to bring people down who don't agree with them 100%. I have a friend who became an empty shell after being a part of them. They got really sad personalities. And they quote David B. Hart saying Calvin was an idiot, a very bright idiot. He was a moral cretin, and so he was capable of basically believing things about God that make God morally inferior to Satan.
Don't hold back at all. I have a picture in my mind of Calvin as a man, and I in my mind, and I could be wrong, but it seems to me like he was a very, very linear thinker, kind of like a really, really tightly wound accountant or lawyer, and pinch-nosed, mean, stingy, and had no problem torturing or putting people to torture and or to death, like Michael Servetus, if they differed from him. That man, I don't know why they assassinate Joseph Smith the way they do when they follow a guy like Calvin. I'm not saying Joseph Smith was better, but he seemed kinder at least. And so I don't get it.
Agreed. All right. All's quiet. So we'll play a little bit more music, and if in 10 minutes there aren't calls,
sounds good.
We will end. Thanks, guys.
Whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. For whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the gospel of peace, who bring glad tidings of good things. For whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. For whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? shall be saved. For whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. For whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. For whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. For whoever shall keep the whole law and yet stumble in one point, he is guilty of all. For whoever shall keep the whole law and yet stumble in one point, he is guilty of all. For whoever shall keep the whole law and yet stumble in one point, he is guilty of all. For whoever shall keep the whole law and yet stumble in one point, he is guilty of all. For whoever shall keep the whole law and yet stumble in one point, he is guilty of all.
All right, we can start wrapping up now. There was one more comment that someone said that says, a pastor told them that Jesus talked and preached a lot about finances and money. The pastor believes that tithing and 10% is important for God.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
And we have some stuff written on tithing that you can find at Cult. Free content to teach about it. And we've had many shows talking about tithing, but bottom line, it was to the nation of Israel. And Jesus uses money in examples, but he never talks about tithes as something that people should do. If he ever mentions the word, it's just in reference to what was being done. Those people who use money and and Jesus' name associated with money, I think are some of the worst types of people in the faith today.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Lindsay's saying he loves us so much and he's excited for this weekend. And to remind everyone, we're having the Christian Peace Initiative conference this weekend.
Yay.
It's Friday night. Starting at 7, there's a keynote speech. Saturday, it goes from 8 a.m. to 2 or 3. 2. And lots of speakers, lunch if you're here in person, and a panel discussion. You can go to thegreatnewsnetwork.com and events, and you'll find all the information there. And you can watch it from the app if you look up the Great News Network in any app store or under the resources at our website. Otherwise, yeah, go ahead.
And Lindsay, thank you for that submission on the writing you're doing. It's beautiful. I've only gotten through about half of what you sent because something interrupted me, but understand, love your creative heart and what you put forth. Keep going, my friend. Lindsay's out there in Hawaii, beautiful island of the Big Island, I'm pretty sure. And then finally, I heard on something I was watching this morning, this quote, and I wanted to share it with you. At the end of the road is a mirror. We'll see you next week. Love you guys.
Love you all. Bye-bye.